Hey everyone, in this video I'll be sharing my full loadout and strategy for a full clear no death bug run in Helldivers 2. I'll cover everything from the weapons and stratagems I use to how I approach each part of the mission. Whether you're looking for tips to improve your gameplay or just curious about my process, stick around because you don't want to miss these pro tips. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really supports the channel and helps me bring you more content. Let's dive in. The first thing to understand is the huge difference between fighting bugs and fighting bots in Helldivers 2. Bots are much slower and rely on ranged attacks, meaning they can deal damage from a distance, but you don't often have to worry about getting overrun since you're faster than they are. Bugs, on the other hand, are faster, which makes them much more relentless. They can track you across the map with ease, staying close enough to keep up the pressure. Fortunately, most bug types don't have ranged attacks, and even those that do need to be fairly close to land a hit. Because of these differences, you need a completely different mindset to successfully tackle a solo full clear no death bug run. Speed and stamina become much more critical than they are against bots. Unlike bots, there will be moments where you have to get up close and personal with the bugs. Whether you're taking out a final bug hole in a nest, clearing out a stalker nest with enemies closing in, or grabbing the mutated egg from a mega nest for extra samples, close combat is unavoidable. Against bots, you can often keep your distance and rely on stratagems to handle outposts. With bugs, it's not that simple. Bug holes are much smaller, and even a perfectly placed stratagem might not hit its mark, leaving you no choice but to move in close to finish the job. All of this makes a full clear no death super helldive bug run not only more difficult but also more unpredictable. Unlike bots, where the most effective support stratagems are pretty consistent, like the autocannon, quasar cannon, or AMR, bugs open up a wider range of viable options. For example, many players favor the jump pack for quickly escaping swarms, while others mix the jump pack with the AMR for a balanced approach. Then there are those who go all in on fire-based loadouts using stratagems like the napalm barrage, using the incendiary breaker, and incendiary grenades. Against bugs, you've got a lot more flexibility with several loadout options that can give you a high success rate. It's all about finding the approach that works best for you. Let's start with the loadout. Here's the key. Helmets in Helldivers 2 don't have any passive buffs right now, so I stick with the one that initially hooked me into the game. It's a little flex from the Super Citizen Edition, but I still think it's the coolest helmet in the game. Now for the real game changer, the SC-34 Infiltrator armor from the Helldivers Mobilized War Bond. This is a must-have for any solo full clear super helldive run. There are a couple different versions of stealth armor, but I favor this one because it shows you don't really need anything special to win. It reduces enemy detection range by 30%, which means you can literally run past enemy patrols, crouch by at closer distances, and even crawl within 9 meters without being spotted. But it doesn't stop there. When you drop a pin on the map, it scans the area every 2 seconds, revealing enemy patrols so you can plan your moves and avoid unnecessary fights. This armor is all about control. It lets you dictate when and where engagements happen, which is absolutely crucial in high pressure solo runs. And with the speed boost that light armor provides, you're set for quick escapes and calculated attacks, giving you an edge in every encounter. Let's talk weapons, and here's where it gets real. I'm running the Punisher shotgun, which you can grab from the first page of the Helldivers Mobilized War Bond for 4 medals. Why do I use the Punisher? 2 words: stagger power. This beast can one-shot basic enemies like scavengers and hunters while temporarily stunning tougher foes like stalkers. When it comes to damage per second, DPS, the Punisher is a top tier weapon, trailing only the Eruptor and the exploding crossbow in a few niche scenarios. Another big factor is it reloads on the run. That means no stopping, no wasting time with reload animations. You reload as you move, shoot, and repeat, keeping the momentum going no matter what. It's a must-have for high-paced solo runs. Now let's talk about my secondary weapon, the grenade pistol. If you're running a bug mission, this is a must-have. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's the single most important weapon, primary or secondary, to bring along when fighting the bugs. Why? Because of its unmatched effectiveness in closing bug holes. Sure, other weapons can do the job, but none come close to the reliability and efficiency of the grenade pistol. When you're up against relentless swarms, this weapon is your go-to for keeping control and sealing the deal. Literally. And finally, let's talk about the undisputed goat of grenades, the stun grenade. In my opinion, it's the most powerful grenade in the game, and here's why. It completely locks down chargers, giving you the time you need to take them out without ever letting them get close. Equally important, it can stun entire swarms. You toss it into a group of enemies just to create distance. It's like hitting a reset button, regaining control, regrouping, and putting yourself back in charge of the fight. Absolute game changer. The stun grenade creates options. You can engage the swarm head on, drop an airstrike or another stratagem to wipe them out, or simply make a quick escape. Now let's move on to the stratagems, starting with the Eagle Airstrike, an absolute must-have against the bugs. This stratagem is a multitasking powerhouse with 3 uses per call-in, making it one of the most versatile tools in your arsenal. You can use it to take out Bile Titans, clear out swarms that are relentlessly chasing you across the map, close bug holes with ease, and when you're approaching an objective swarming with enemies, the Eagle Airstrike serves as the perfect line of offense to thin the herd before you dive in. With so many applications, not taking the airstrike is like tying one hand behind your back. It's just too valuable to skip. Next up is the 380mm Orbital Barrage, another must-have stratagem with so many versatile uses that it's hard to justify leaving it behind. Its primary strength lies in its fire and forget functionality. Whether you're dealing with a large bug nest, a mega nest, or an objective overrun with enemies, you can throw it, walk away, and focus on your next task. You don't even need pinpoint accuracy. Just get it in the general area and it'll do consistent area of effect damage over time. And if you're lucky, a bug breach might get triggered while it's active, meaning your 380 is taking out an entire wave of enemies without you even being there. While it does have a longer cooldown, managing your Eagle Rearms carefully ensures you'll always have one in reserve for emergencies, while the 380 is on cooldown. This combination of sustained damage and set it and forget it utility makes it indispensable for bug missions. The next stratagem in my loadout is the SH32 Shield Generator Pack, and while it's gotten some flack in the past as being a crutch, I think it's an invaluable tool, especially when running light armor. Here's why. It gives you the buffer to tank critical hits, like 2 or 3 from a hunter, 2 from a stalker, or even a bile shot from a Bile Titan or Bile Spewer. This buffer is essential for light armor, which has a lower overall armor rating. There are plenty of moments when you simply can't avoid getting in close, whether it's to take out the last bug hole in a nest, handle a side or main objective, or during those chaotic extractions. The shield generator lets smart players push in without the constant fear of being taken out in one hit. It's not a crutch, it's a strategic safety net for calculated risks. Finally, let's talk about the Flam 40 flamethrower, my go-to weapon against bugs for a ton of reasons. First, it's incredibly effective at taking down chargers. Hit them from the back and you're looking at a 3 to 4 second takedown max. Plus, it's a swarm killer. When the bugs are chasing you, toss a stun grenade to create some distance, turn around and let the flames fly. You can easily rack up a 20+ kill streak in seconds, wiping out an entire swarm without worrying about pinpoint accuracy. Just lay down the fire, back up to avoid burning yourself, and watch the chaos disappear. It's also fantastic against hive guards, the bugs with medium armored heads and legs. Forget trying to hit their weak spots. Just hit them head on with the flamethrower and they'll drop quickly. And don't even get me started on brood commanders and alpha commanders. These guys can tank multiple headshots from the Punisher, but the flamethrower cuts through them fast. For me, the flamethrower is a must-have for bug missions thanks to its ability to handle everything from swarms to tougher enemies with ease. For this run, I went with the stamina boost, and here's why. When you're up against bugs, the name of the game is speed. Unlike bots, which are slow but can shoot you from a distance, bugs are incredibly fast and relentless. Most of them can only hurt you at short range, so staying ahead of the swarms is absolutely critical. The stamina boost gives you a much higher stamina capacity and significantly faster regeneration, which means you can keep moving and outpace the bugs when things get intense. As you'll see in this run, managing your speed and stamina is a game changer when it comes to staying alive and staying in control. Alright, that's the full loadout breakdown. Now let's dive straight into the mission and see how this setup performs in action. From gameplay tips to the tactical use of weapons and stratagems, I'll guide you through clearing objectives efficiently, avoiding damage, and mastering the techniques needed for that perfect no-death run. Let's get started, and don't forget, it's only GG when you win. Okay, here we go. We're diving in, and the first thing I'm thinking about is getting all my stratagems and the first resupply called in right away. Resupply, flamethrower, shield. Then we'll take a look at the map to see how everything's laid out. And we'll head for the first objective. We see we got Shriekers, and I can already see a Shrieker nest on my right. And I decide we're going to take that out first because those Shriekers can be a real problem if you don't take it out early. And we have a patrol of Shriekers chasing us already, but we stay under cover of these trees for as long as we can, and then we try to sneak in. We got our first bug breach. We'll take a look behind us to see how many are on us. And I don't really like to use the Hellbomb unless I have to, just because of how long it takes for it to be called in, and then you have to activate it. And against the bugs, that can be a real problem because of how quickly the bugs can get you. So instead of the Hellbomb, I'm going to use my Eagle Airstrikes. Look at all these things that are chasing us right now. And because I'm choosing to work on taking out the Shrieker nest now, this is probably the most intense part of the mission. One tip against bile spewers is that if you use the grenade pistol, you can often take them out with one hit, 2 at the most. So I like to use the grenade pistol to keep those bile spewers from getting too close. I'm taking the risk of moving in closer to make sure I get rid of it. I'm going to toss in another airstrike. And this one's a little better placed. Another tip is when you see potential side objectives, mark them, which will cause them to appear permanently on your map. So even if you're unable to complete that side objective at that moment, you'll be able to find it again easily by looking at the map. Again, we use the grenade pistol to take out the bile spewer. And right now my goal is just to start the process of activating the radar station. Easily the most useful side objective is the radar station because once you activate it, it will show the remainder of the side objectives on the map, so you know where to go. So we got the radar station started, and we're heading for the retrieve launch codes side objective, which is fairly easy. All we have to do is pick up the codes and the objective is completed. I also want to set down another resupply so I can refill my stems because that opening section took out all of our stems. And I also go prone here because when you go prone, using the stealth armor, it reduces the range that enemies can see you to 9 meters. So basically an enemy has to be right on top of you in order to see you. There's almost always a patrol on top of an objective, so a good rule is to assume you're going to throw at least one airstrike to clear out the first wave. I throw a stun grenade so they can't move so I can take out as many as possible, and then I'm going to try to sneak in. The shield gen takes a couple hits, but I grab the launch codes and I'm out of there. Another tip is that when your stamina is low but you need stamina, just pop a stem. It refills your stamina all the way, and in that moment I needed to refill my stamina so I could get away from that area. So I make the decision to pop the stem, refill my stamina, and make sure that I get out of there without getting hit again. And I'm heading back for that Shrieker nest because I gotta take that out now. Another tip against Shriekers is to try to stay under cover, whether that's against a mountainside or against trees, which makes it more difficult for the Shriekers to swoop in on you. I had a feeling that the second airstrike that I threw on that Shrieker nest was really well placed, and so I figured 1 or 2 grenade pistol shots would finish it off, and I was right. So now I don't have to worry about the Shriekers anymore other than what's remaining plus the patrols, but I also see how close we are to the radar station, and I make the decision to at least get the terminal raised on the radar station, which isn't going to take very long. Remember, I already opened up the terminal. All I have to do is press a quick button and I can get the radar satellite raising and then get out of there again. I see that these bile spewers are not aggroed onto me because they didn't react when I run up to the terminal, so I wanted to see how far I could test it. I go prone here, and I'm hoping to potentially finish the radar station. I see that hunter, and that's definitely going to aggro onto us, so I take him out. Then once I take him out, I have to work on the bile spewers. Grenade pistol again. I'm hoping nothing else is going to come, but here they come. That's way too many, so I throw a stun grenade. Because we're close. Then I see the impaler. I know we're in trouble. But I see that it's not going to take very much. All I have to do is move this a little to the left. There it is. Boom, and we're out of there. We just missed that bile spewer. So I basically completed that objective. All I'm going to have to do is go back and press a button. I want to take out this patrol here, because they'll just keep hitting my shield. But I also want to get this bug nest. But if I can, I don't want to waste a stratagem. And we're now out of ammo on the grenade pistol, so I'm going to grab this ammo right here. I see that the upload data side objective is really close, so I choose to go for that because it's fairly easy. Another tip is if you know which direction you're going to be running, throw the resupply in front of you so you can still create distance while running to the resupply. And I see that there's not a lot of enemies coming at me, so I choose to take out this patrol. Normally, it's tough to work on the patrol when you're getting chased. And I see we got more enemies. I'm going to grab this resupply and head out. Now we want to keep the distance between us and the swarm. So we're heading for the upload data side objective, and again we go prone, which limits the range at which the swarm can see us, and we're hoping to get this done before we get overrun. So I see I got a few enemies, so that didn't work, but I want to get this done while I can, because you just have to be close to it. You don't have to be right on top of it. And we get the bug breach, so we got to finish this and get out of there. Another tip is if you find yourself getting slowed by the bile spit, or if a hunter hits you a couple times and slows you down, dive, which will generally counteract being slowed so you continue to move. So we're going to go hit this nest. And I have all my airstrikes as well as my 380. And remember, if you throw your 380, you basically have to get out of there. So I want to use my airstrikes first before I throw the 380. And you want to take your time. You kind of want to place them as well as you can, so you have the highest chance to take out as many bug holes as possible. Another tip is when you're not getting swarmed at a bug nest, circle it. Throw a stratagem and then continue your circle, because the enemies are going to go where you were when you threw the stratagem. So make a giant circle, taking out as many of the holes as you can while throwing stratagems, which is what I'm doing here. We're going to throw our last airstrike, and then we're going to throw the 380 as well. Because once we threw that last airstrike, we throw that 380 and we can leave this area, hoping that it takes out as many bug holes as possible. Here comes a perfect opportunity for the flamethrower. Another tip is when you're using the flamethrower, use it when the ground is level or when you have the high ground. When you have the high ground, your angle is better and you have a higher chance to take out enemies without taking any damage yourself. We're still taking damage from these Shrieker patrols. And I see the resupply is coming off cooldown, so I want to get into a good position and throw another resupply. One of the newest additions to the game is when you throw a resupply, you can see it on the map, which is huge. Because I looked at the map and saw that a resupply was already close to us, and so I'm not wasting a second resupply in the same area. We're waiting for our airstrikes to come back. We see that that nest did not get finished off. But again, the stealth armor comes in clutch. I want to try to sneak past all these enemies and finish it off. Boom, there's only one bug hole left. We don't even have to get close to it because of the grenade pistol, and we take it out, and now we're moving on. Because we're so close to the next main objective, I want to at least start that. Again, the grenade pistol takes out a bile spewer, no problem. Now, when I did this run, we had the availability of the gas strike as an extra free stratagem, a stratagem that I never use myself, and I think this is the first time that I've ever used it, but I want to see what it does. And it can also help us here, so I try to get a good throw right in the middle of it, then I throw the airstrike so we can take out as many as possible. The gas strike didn't seem to do much. I see that we still have some more enemies, so I'm going to throw another airstrike and a stun grenade. And I know at this point that we've taken out most of the enemies. We're going to finish off this bile spewer. The area looks completely clear, and we move in to complete the next main objective. I call in the Eagle Rearm. You're going to be waiting anyway. You might as well make being forced to wait work in your favor. Again, I go prone here because patrols will come through when you're trying to complete objectives, but if you're prone, the enemies have to be right on top of you. If you're using the stealth armor, always play it safe if you can. Now, because I called in the Eagle Rearm and I know that I'll have my 380 ready as well, I'm going to start working on that Mega Nest because I'll have all of my offensive stratagems at my disposal. The last thing we have to do is pull this lever, so I get in close and then I throw a resupply because I know I'm going to be waiting anyway. Like I said before, you might as well make the wait work to your advantage when you're being forced to wait. Already less than a minute before the airstrikes are back. We got the 380 barrage back. I'm going to hit this resupply and make sure we're topped up on everything, and then we're going to go after that Mega Nest. Now you see me using the radar here. I'm going to take the long way to get to the Mega Nest because I don't want to have to deal with all the swarms and patrols of enemies that are going to be all around. We're maneuvering our way through all of this. Here's another tip. I'm getting close to the Mega Nest, so I crouch to make sure my stamina is all the way full, because when your stamina is full, you have enough speed to stay ahead of the swarm. So when you're going to engage against bugs, always make sure you have your stamina full in case you get swarmed. I see that there are two impalers standing right in front of me and it's close to a bug hole, and because those impalers are there, that tells me that it's going to be a lot more difficult to use my normal strategy of circling the nest because the tentacles from the impaler are going to get to me if I do that. So I'm going to throw an airstrike right on top of the impaler, hopefully getting that bug hole. Then I'm going to throw my 380 barrage and then I'll survey how many enemies and what types of enemies are coming at me so I can decide whether I need to leave or whether I can continue attacking. Now you see that Bile Titan is circling where we were rather than where we are now. And I see that the barrage is almost finished and that Bile Titan is not coming at us, so I can throw my last airstrike in hopes of taking out at least one more of the bug holes, and then I'm going to leave the Mega Nest. I'm not even going to look to see what that airstrike does because it doesn't really matter. Now I know how close I am to completing that radar station, so I kind of want to finish that. But I changed my mind to go ahead and complete the next main objective for multiple reasons. The first reason is that I haven't had a bug breach lately and I don't know how many enemies are going to be on top of the radar station, and I do not want another bug breach on top of that radar station again. And I also know that pumping fuel to the ICBM objective can take some time, so what I'm hoping to do is get at least some of the main objective complete, get a bug breach called in on the main objective, and then go complete the radar station. And I'm using the radar again to dodge all the different patrols and swarms of enemies so we don't aggro anything. I see on the radar that there's enemies all around the area I'm in, and I also don't want to aggro that Shrieker patrol onto myself. I see that the Shriekers are not aggroed onto me, so that's good. My airstrikes are back, and I know that there's always enemies all over this thing, so I'm just going to throw one in there and see how many it takes out. Grenade pistol again for the win. That didn't even take out 3 enemies. But I see that there's enemies following me, so I'm going to throw another one. I just want to play it safe. I do not want to deal with a swarm of enemies coming at me. So the area looks mostly clear, so I'm going to move in and try to at least get this objective started. I see that there's even more enemies coming. I got the bug breach that I wanted. I throw that airstrike to take out a few more. I use the stem to refill our stamina so we can get out of there, and we go for the radar station. Exactly what I wanted to happen happened. We have a huge swarm of bugs where we're not going to be, they're not chasing us, and we can basically walk in and finish this radar objective. Remember, all we have to do is push a button and we're done because of everything we did before. We're approaching the radar station now, and I want to make sure I have my stamina back just in case there is something there. Not one single enemy on this objective. Bam. Now we immediately check the map, see that we have a spore spewer and artillery. Another tip is that if you get a bug breach called in on a side objective or a main objective, and then you leave the area, and I mean get far enough away to where the swarms from the bug breaches aren't chasing you, those bugs will spread out into other areas of the map. They're not all just going to stay at that location. So you get the bug breach, then you leave, wait a couple minutes, then you can come back and there will be very few enemies there. So you can get at least a little bit more of the objective done. And that's where we're going, back to work on that main objective. We want to use the radar to dodge that group of enemies. And because that spore spewer is really obscuring our vision, I'm going to eliminate that on our way to the pump objective. And I want to get as close to this spore spewer as I can because there's always enemies on top of a spore spewer, but I can't see them. I want to make sure my stamina's full, get in close, and throw the airstrike. Another tip is that an airstrike won't always take out a spore spewer on its own, but an airstrike and one grenade pistol shot always will. So you saw I threw the airstrike, then I shot it once with the grenade pistol. That's a 100% guarantee of taking out the spore spewer every time. Now we're going to circle around and start working on this artillery. Now, one thing that's always going to happen is while you're doing this, a patrol is going to come through. It happens every time, but I at least want to get this thing started. Here comes the patrol. That commander tried to call in a bug breach, and there's the bug breach. But we can make this bug breach work to our advantage. While that bug breach is happening, we're heading back for the main objective, and I know there's going to be very few, if any, enemies on it, so we should be able to get pretty far, if not complete it. Again, completely empty. We're going to throw a resupply here to make sure we get full up on everything, and then we're going to try to complete as much of this as possible. Okay, so I see enemies coming in, and I see that I'm not going to get the chance to finish this objective. So I get my resupply and I leave. I also see that there's quite a few enemies here, so I throw the 1-2 punch of airstrike and stun grenade so they're not moving so I can do maximum damage, and we're heading back for the artillery. But I see there's an impaler there, and I realize it's just not going to happen, so I choose to go back for the mega nest. And because I know it's going to take me a little while to get there, I call in the Eagle Rearm so I have all my Eagles and my 380 ready to take out more of the mega nest. I'm also going past the ICBM objective, which gives me a chance to look at how many enemies and what types of enemies are going to be there. Again, using the radar to maneuver through the patrols and groups of enemies. We're getting close, so I want to make sure our stamina is full because I know how close we are to getting it, but I don't know how many enemies or what types are going to be there. So I want to make sure that my stamina is full. See the impaler, but he doesn't see me, so I'm not worried about him yet. And I make the dangerous choice to drop down into the nest and use the grenade pistol to get at least one of these bug holes. Then I have to get out of there right then, and we're already getting chased by the tentacles. That was a bad move on my part. But I know how difficult it can be to take out that one bug hole that's just in a bad position, so I made the calculated risk to go for it. I'm going to go ahead and throw the 380 and then decide what to do next. I want to use at least 2 of the airstrikes on this smaller nest, but I also feel like I have enough time and enough distance from the 380 to throw at least 1 airstrike in to take out more of the bug holes on the mega nest. So I throw it and I hope for the best. And I see that there aren't that many enemies chasing me, so I'm not really worried about it. And now we're moving for that mega nest, making sure we're always watching our stamina. I can hear a Bile Titan, so I want to get a little more distance, stay in the cover of the trees if I can. And we throw a resupply in front of us so we can refill our stamina and kind of survey what's chasing us, if anything. Get this resupply and go get this small nest. Again, I'm using the radar to avoid any large groups of enemies. And as we get closer, I'm going to manage the stamina so I can make sure that I have full stamina when I get in there because I have no idea what I'm walking into. I see that the enemies are right in the center, so I might as well throw this gas strike and an airstrike since I have it. Feel like that took out most of them. But then I make the snap decision here to instead go and finish the artillery, because any remaining enemies are going to be focused on where I just threw those stratagems, so the artillery should be empty. And because I don't expect any enemies to be on top of the artillery, I go ahead and call in the Eagle Rearm. Always take advantage of moments where there aren't enemies around you. Completely empty. Now, like I said, whenever you're working on the artillery, there's always going to be a patrol coming in. So I still want to work quickly, and that brings me to the next tip. So most players know to pick up and drop the artillery shells in order to move them faster, but if you notice, you can use your stamina to run in coordination while picking up and dropping the artillery shell, and you'll move even faster. It's a small difference, but those small differences can be the difference between winning and losing. We also got really lucky with the shells that were dropped here. We got a mini nuke and all explosives, so I know that we're going to be able to use all these artillery shells, and my plan is to use the mini nuke when it's time to do the main objective, because I saw how many enemies were there, and then I'll use the explosives for whatever else I see. You see the next patrol of enemies starting to get close, which, like I said, is always going to happen whenever you're working on any main or side objectives, but I want to finish as much of this as I can. And because none of those enemies have seen me, I'm going to choose to leave the area in hopes that the patrol crosses through the artillery without knowing that I'm there. While that patrol is checking the artillery, I can complete the last main objective without having to worry about any enemies coming at me. Then once I finish that, the patrol that was on the artillery will no longer be there, so I can move back and finish the artillery. Doing these bug runs is almost like a dance, where you're trying to stay ahead of the patrols and kind of control where they're going as much as you can, and you want to control them to be in areas where you're not going to be. And obviously that's not always possible, but in this case we can do it. Again, not one enemy in this area. Bam. Now all we have to do is launch the ICBM to complete the mission. I see that that patrol has not left the artillery, but it also doesn't look like they're moving forward, and I have all the artillery shells there. All I need to do is start it up, put the artillery shells in, and finish it. The hard part's already done. Again, I want to make sure that mini nuke's in there first so we can throw it on the main objective. This patrol still isn't coming at us, so I know we're good to finish this. And we're out of there. We're going to move back to that small nest, finish it off with our grenade pistol or an airstrike. We'll have to see once we get there. Bug holes right in front of us. Perfect. It couldn't be any easier. There's one. And there's two. Done. Now we haven't used any of our airstrikes or a 380, so we can go back to that mega nest, and we still have 10 minutes to go. Plenty of time. We're going to continue to use our radar to make sure that we dodge all the groups of enemies. Manage the stamina.
Mission at 10 minutes remaining.
We're dodging all these groups of enemies, and I'm hoping there aren't that many bug holes left on this mega nest after everything we've put into it. Again, we're getting really close to the nest and the remaining bug holes, so I want to manage my stamina and see how many are left. Wow, literally one hole left. I don't want to waste a stratagem on this. We miss our shot, and I hear a Bile Titan getting close. Mega Nest complete, and we're out of there. If I get the opportunity, I'm going to come back for the Mutated Egg, but it's not at the top of the priority list right now. We're getting close, so I want to manage my stamina and try to throw this mini nuke.
Main objective near your position.
I see some enemies there. I feel like that's a pretty good throw. I could have thrown it in the center, but I feel like it's going to do some damage. Wow, it didn't even take out 3 enemies, so actually that was a really bad throw. So I throw an airstrike just to make sure I clear up anything I can't see. And what I don't want is any of these little guys calling in a bug breach. So you'll see me get a little aggressive here with my shotgun to make sure that they don't. Then I see the bile spewer. I gotta reload the grenade pistol. Say screw it, we're gonna start this main objective. I'm starting to see more enemies come in. Throw an airstrike. That guy tried to call in a bug breach. I'm still trying to protect against it. We're gonna get some of this done, that's for sure. Let's go manually disengage these locks. Now I see more enemies coming in, but it looks like mostly spewers. Hit them with the 1-2 punch, airstrike, and stun grenade. Calling the resupply. Throw another stun grenade. Try to get these guys. And there's the bug breach. I'm going to at least disengage the last of these locks. And what we're going to do is use this opportunity of a bug breach on the main objective to go get that mutated egg. I want to use another one of these artillery shells. I have them. I might as well use them. And because I know how many enemies are going to be on this objective, I'm going to throw the 380 and then get out of there. Set it and forget it. And we're gone. And I'll throw in the gas strike because why not? And we'll head for that mutated egg. We can see that 380 doing a little bit of work. I have no idea where this egg is going to be. So I'm hoping I can get it without aggroing that Bile Titan. Ooh, there it is. Perfect. Got it, and we're gone. Now we'll head back for the main objective because that's all we have left to do. And like I said earlier, when you run away from the bug breach and you're far enough away to where the swarm isn't chasing you, the majority of that bug breach will clear out and leave the area of the breach relatively unguarded. I'm also going to take out the Shrieker patrol right now because that's the last thing I want is a Shrieker patrol aggroing everything onto me. Grab the egg and back to the main objective. Now we're going to find out how many enemies are going to be left on the ICBM. It looks pretty clear. Grab that ammo to refill a couple shots in the grenade pistol. And now we're going to go prone again. Remember, that limits the range that enemies can detect us to 9 meters, so they basically have to be right on top of us. I also don't want to throw another resupply right here because a resupply can occasionally draw in enemies, and the goal here is to have no enemies come at us so we can finish this mission in peace. I'm looking for enemies, but I don't see anything, so that's a good sign. Now I see the Impaler coming in. I consider throwing the stratagem at him, but then I notice that he doesn't see us. This is a perfect showcase of why the stealth armor is so awesome and why going prone can be so important. This guy does not see us. The only way he's going to see us is if he walks right on top of us. Boom. We grab the egg and we're out of here. That Impaler still hasn't seen where we're at. Now we have 1 minute and 15 seconds left. So we're just going to dodge patrols and slowly work our way to the extract. Because we only have 1 minute left, I want to call in a final resupply and make sure we're full up on everything. We'll reload all our guns, our flamethrower, everything to make sure we're fully loaded for this final push. Another tip, and this is the same tip I gave in my last Helldivers video, but it's so important I'm going to mention it again here, is there is no need to call in the extract. When you call in the extract, the enemies are going to swarm you. Enemies are going to come in at you from all angles. So instead, what I'm going to do is hang out on the outskirts. I'm going to find a nice spot where there's no enemies. I'm going to go prone and I'm going to wait. And while the enemies might still swarm the extract, they're not going to swarm us. So the plan is to get in a good position, go prone, wait for the ship to land, and it doesn't really matter how many enemies are there. Basically, we'll just be able to run right past them and hop in the ship. We're in no rush here. All we want to do is find a good spot.
Leaving low orbit. Emergency extraction shuttle deployed.
I'm looking for the right spot.
ETA T-minus 2 minutes 30 seconds.
This spot looks good. We're just going to hang here. Check the radar, make sure there's no patrols coming at us, and wait. That patrol is going for the extract. They're not going for us, so we're good. And now I see them make a turn for my direction because that's how the AI works in this game. So we're going to move just a little bit, relocate. I see another patrol of enemies. We're going to bypass them, and we're going to find a spot where nobody's going to bother us. Now this isn't a bad spot, but I still think it's a little too close to enemies. So I'm going to relocate again. Again, I don't care if they get aggroed onto the extract as long as they're not aggroed onto us. Doing this is so important, and it changes the extract from a hellscape into a walk in the park. We are now in the perfect position, so we're just going to wait it out. And once the timer goes to 0, we don't have to rush because it takes about 10 seconds for the ship to land. So we're just going to take it easy and watch. We're just going to walk right into the ship.
Pelican 1 arriving at coordinates. Pelican 1 landing sequence initiated. Watch where you're standing.
Here we go. We're making our move. By the time this guy sees that we're there, we're already getting onto the ship. And that's how it's done. I want to wait and double check just to make sure we fully cleared everything.
You have maintained our way of life.
Boom. That's a full clear, no death bug run. And that wraps up the mission. Hopefully this breakdown of strategies, weapon usage, and tactical tips helps you dominate your next Helldivers 2 bug run. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It's a huge help for the channel and lets me keep bringing you better content, more live streams, and even more tips to help you succeed. Don't forget you can check out my latest stream schedule at tacitmortem.com to join me live and see these strategies in action. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, it's only GG when you win.